Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all doing on this fine Monday? After a terrible, terrible Hurricane Harvey has hit Houston, leaving it half underwater. Folks being red boats, that type of thing. Yet it was said that a day or two ago, certain city officials were telling the members of the community there's no need to evacuate. That's just something I heard. I haven't even, searched for it, but I can tell you. Yeah, here it is. Sure enough, Texas Tribune, Washington Post, Fox News, 11 hours ago. Let's check out. Looks like there's a video here from the Washington Post. We'll get to hit here in just a second. I know I told y'all that I would. I guess it was Saturday evening. I got a little too worked up, and I ran out of gas, and let's just say that I fell asleep that day. But yeah, I hadn't had much rest, and I've been overworked and underpaid, to say the least. But hey, I took Sunday off, and here I am, finally on Monday. It's been a long day today. I've actually been pretty much busy today on my little home life that I like to live so decently, you know. But I don't see no video in this article, or it hasn't loaded yet. I guess it is, or here's one. I'll get that video playing in just a second. But yeah, we got some big news this evening. An article from Breitbart entitled "The Slow Death of the Republican Party," which I have not looked into. After the president's transgender military ban, the ACLU announces that it will seek a lawsuit against President Trump for his decision. And also, following the pardon of Joe Aparo, however how you say his last name, he was pardoned by President Trump earlier last week. Chelsea Clinton later took to attack Trump on this decision. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I've got plenty news. There is no shortage in news, so do not worry. Do not get your panties in a bunch. I got more news than WMT could shake a penile implant at. So let's see if we can get this video going. No, absolutely not. You couldn't make out much what the reporter was saying. They said, "Did you regret it all not ordering evacuations?"
No, absolutely not. You know,
That is the Houston Mayor, Sylvester Turner.
I've talked, and we both wholeheartedly agree that the best for the people in the city of Houston and for Harris County were for people to stay in place. Number one, if you can recall, there was a lot of conversation about the direction it was going to go. No one knew which direction it was going to go. So it's kind of difficult to send people away from danger when you don't know where the danger is. Number two, to try to put forth some sort of evacuation in a couple of days was the logistics would have been crazy, okay? Because if we can remember the last time we evacuated, there was a great deal of confusion, great deal of chaos. There were people that literally were going to Austin and was on the road 10 to 12 hours, if not longer. There were people who ran out of gas on their way. A great deal of confusion. It takes a lot of preparation. You have to have an evacuation plan.
So there you have it. They had no evacuation whatsoever. I haven't heard a total death number yet, but I'm sure there's been people that's died. Let's see here. Throughout Monday morning, Harvey levels of rain on Houston, causing, quote, catastrophic, unquote, flooding in the city and in surrounding Harris County, where at least 6 people appear to have died as a result of the storm. Some parts of Harris County have received more than 30 inches of rain since Friday, according to the National Weather Service. The NWS warned of catastrophic, unprecedented, and life-threatening flooding, unquote, through the week and placed flash flood emergencies for all southeast Texas region. Much anticipated storm pummeled the county's fourth largest city, overwhelming the 911 system and sending some residents advice of officials into their attics to flee floodwaters. Many asked the question, Houston have been evacuated? If so, why wasn't it? At least one top official thought it should have been. On Friday, before Harvey made landfall, Texas Governor Abbott encouraged residents to evacuate low-lying and coastal areas, even if a mandatory evacuation had not been issued. Quote, even if an evacuation had been issued in an hour Corpus and you need to strong quote, Abbott said, what you don't know to the flooding that will be. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you could be subject to a search and rescue, end quote. The governor's warning was in sharp contrast to the advice county officials had been dispensing for days. Shelter and stay in place. And it set off a scramble by local officials on social media to tell Houston area residents otherwise. Quote, local leaders know best, unquote. Francisco Sanchez, spokesman for the Harris County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, tweeted in response to Abbott's warning. There are no evacuations in order for Houston, and orders only existed in a few communities in Harris County, Sanchez stressed on Friday afternoon. In a follow-up tweet, Sanchez urged residents to heed the advice of local officials such as Harris County Judge Ed Emmett and Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner rather than the governor. Here's the quote that Francisco Sanchez sent out. It said, quote, I live here, I work here, I know here. My job is to protect people here. Local officials like at Ed Emmett and at Sylvester Turner know best. Uh, and here's a tweet from Noman Merchant. Harris County Judge Ed Emmett on why he's not Houston residents to evacuate from hashtag Hurricane Harvey despite Texas governor's comment. On Sunday morning, as Hurricane Harvey's powerful winds and rain caused severe damage to coastal communities, the Houston mayor warned people there would be heavy rain and flooding in the city for the next 4 to 5 days.
But we always say run from water, hide from wind. When we say storm surge, not rain. So in this case, we'll have a lot of water, but it's not the kind of water that we would ask people to evacuate from. And there are a few municipal.
Let me make sure that y'all can hear that.
Because while we always say run from water, hide from wind, when we say that, we mean storm surge, not rain. So in this case, we'll have a lot of water, but it's not the kind of water that we would ask people to evacuate from. And there are a few municipalities along the bay that have called for voluntary evacuations simply because of the small storm surge that is coming in and the high tide. But in that case, if you live in one of those municipalities, we ask you to pay attention to your local officials, which is what we ask people to do for us. The other issue that has come up has been a question of fuel supplies. There are some stations that are out of fuel, but there is fuel throughout the area, and it will continue to be available. But as I've reminded a couple of people, the special efforts for the state to deliver fuel to an area goes to those areas that are being asked to evacuate so that people can evacuate. We're not one of those areas. We are still dealing with a major rain event. And we dealt with those.
That's all that video. It cut off short. The Houston mayor warned people there would be heavy rain and flooding in the city for the next 4 to 5 days, but once again emphasized they did not need to evacuate. Turner also addressed concerns about Abbott and local officials had sent conflicting messages about what was safer, fleeing or staying in place. Quote, quite frankly, leaving your homes, getting on the streets, you'll be putting yourself in more danger and not making yourself safer, he said. And went on to say, quote, and so we're just asking people to hunker down, end quote. The following day, as the storm's devastating toll came into better focus, Turner defended his call for people to stay in place. There was a lot of conversation about the direction in which Hurricane Harvey was going to go. And he said at a news conference on Sunday, quote, no one knew which direction it was going to go, so it's kind of people away from danger. You don't know where the danger is, unquote. Folks, if listening on Blog Talk Radio, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, those sites, I suggest you go to alexmorgan.com and check out some of these pictures because words just don't do them justice, I'm telling you. Check it out. Right here you see the stop sign. here would be the top of the road sign in the intersection here. South Brasswood and Brassmont Drive, wherever that is. I'm not familiar with the Houston area, but you can see, man, those people are fighting for their lives. Look at that. That guy has got an umbrella and him standing waist deep in water. I wouldn't be worried about an umbrella if I was him standing waist deep in water. Here you have a lady that's trying to keep from getting a wet behind. But again, you see the extent of the high waters. Here's two women and their dogs on a boat, and there's some guy out in the water swimming in front of the boat. Here you see the water almost 12 feet high in this underpass. This is just unreal. I hope to get us a projector pretty quick. I could do a lot better with some better equipment. If anybody would like to get involved and help me in any way, if you'd like to join my cause anyway, I just launched a new website today. You can go to Freedom Internet Radio Media .simplesite.com. Yeah, it's a free site, but you know, I've already got 2 or 3 things I'm having to pay for out of pocket, so it's kind of hard at this point to launch another paid site at this time. If you'd like to donate, you can go to GoFundMe.com/AlexMorganShow, or you can go to PayPal.me/AMorgan83. That's PayPal.me/AMorgan83. I've also just placed a t-shirt on sale this evening. You can go to alexmorganshow.com/online-store, or just go to alexmorganshow.com and at the very top of the screen click online store. That's for $19.99. That's plus shipping and tax, of course, but that's a lot better than $25 and plus shipping and all that. But I hope to have a better sale here pretty quick. I'll have to wait and see if this can continue or not. I'm not making any money at this point. I'm just trying to do like these people here in Houston and keep my head above water, if you feel me. So yeah, if you can, to the site alexmorganshow.com/online-store and pick yourself up a t-shirt. If you don't need no t-shirts, if you got a closet full and you just want to help the broadcast, you can buy a couple and to the homeless or anything. Just do your part. Wear my t-shirt. The word will be spread. There, there will be no point in having paid advertising, commercials, and all this when I got foot soldiers out on the street wearing billboards on their backs. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the best way. That's the best ways you're there to support the broadcast. If y'all want to call the show, 323-693-3320. That's the blog talk number. I would prefer if people call this number though, 276-524-0047. Again, that number, 276-524-0047. I would love to get word from somebody on the ground in the Houston area, or just in Texas for that matter. I'm sure that a lot of y'all people in Texas have got family in Houston, or know people in Houston, and can give a pretty good description of what's going on down there and all that. I have heard that Trump is on the way later this week, either on Wednesday or Thursday, barring that Harvey doesn't make landfall again. What they're saying is the hurricane's going to go back out over the water and build up some strength and maybe come back and rain some more. So that's what we're hoping doesn't happen, but I'm sure these people have already suffered a lot through this, and maybe they've gotten, a lot of them have gotten to higher ground by now. I hope and pray. My prayers go out to all of you and your families and all the victims. I can't stress this enough. I don't know how to send any relief efforts to Houston at this time. Let's see if I can find a site. Texas Tribune. How to get and offer help after Hurricane Harvey. Hurricane Harvey has ravaged the Texas coast and left Houston, the nation's fourth largest city, grappling with unprecedented flooding. Do you need help, or do you want help, or do you want to help those in need? Check out these resources. If you're considering evacuating your home, the Houston Chronicle is compiling a map of flooded streets. If you're in Harrison County, call 713-426-9404 with questions about shelters. Call 713-881-3100 for rescue efforts. Several counties have issued mandatory or voluntary evacuations over the past. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is keeping a running list of those counties on his website. Keep in mind, the director of the Hurricane Relief effort has warned people in flooded regions not to get into their cars, which could put more lives at risk and drain resources that could be used to rescue citizens elsewhere. Shelter and relief. Following reports, the several Texans are missing in of the storm, the Red Cross is encouraging people to list themselves and their families as safe by clicking here. You can receive disaster assistance from the Red Cross by calling 877-500-8645 or find a list of open shelters here. Call the United Way helpline at 211 for information on shelters and other forms of assistance. To report a missing child, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-866-908-9570. For those looking for refuge, Texas State Park camping is free to hurricane evacuees. Talk to a professional about emotional distress by calling the Disaster Distress Helpline at 1-800-5990 or by texting Walk With Us to 66746. Harris County, call 713-308-8580 to locate your towed car. Victoria Grocery Store, HEB, has a host of emergency measures in place, including a mobile kitchen serving meals today in Victoria. Mayor Mike Ross announced Monday that the city will start flown out of the flooded region this afternoon. The city will also open 3 emergency evacuation shelters at Samuel Grand Recreation Center, Walnut Hill Recreation Center, and Tommy Allen Recreation Center. San Antonio, several shelters are open for storm refugees. According to the governor's website, both San Antonio Shelter Hub and San Antonio's American Red Cross Shelter are hosting those who have evacuated from the floods. Austin. The Austin Disaster Relief Network also activated a call center to provide both resources and information to families impacted by the storm. You can reach that hotline at 512-806-0800. If your home was ravaged by floods or sustained any storm damage, you can register your damage with FEMA at 1-800-621-3362. You can also file a personal claim with the Texas Department of Insurance's consumer hotline 1-800-252-3439. If you want to help victims of Hurricane Harvey, help with rescue efforts. If you have a boat or a safe high water vehicle, the Harris County Sheriff's Office wants your help. The office put out a for residents to help with rescues. Call 713-881-3100 to help. See a flooded street? Tell the Houston Chronicle. I don't got their link. I'll get it right here. Hold on. This is just a little Google form where you fill it out and submit it. Here's a good way to making donations. Several local nations are collecting donations for general disaster relief efforts, including the United Way, Salvation Army, Save the Children, Global Giving, Heart to Heart, and Southern Baptist Disaster Relief. Houston Texans defensive end J.J. Watt has set up a flood relief fund, backing the effort with his own $100,000 donation. GoFundMe has curated a list of Harvey relief efforts with fundraisers for individuals families, and homes. Individuals and corporations can donate to hurricane relief efforts through voluntary organizations active in disaster. You can help Hurricane Harvey victims by texting Harvey to 90999 to give $10 to the Red Cross, or by visiting redcross.org to give any other amount. The Hurricane Harvey Relief Fund, established by Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, is accepting donations for flood victims. Right here it's wanting people to give blood. But yeah, that's some of the ways that you can help those affected by this horrible storm. Might I also remind people of the fraudulent donation claims that were made during Hurricane Sandy and possibly Hurricane Katrina. I can't remember, but I'm sure they were for Hurricane Katrina. This happens every time there's a disaster. Folks, I know that there's a lot of good people out there listening, and they want to help these people, but listen, be careful who you give money to. No matter what they say, or no matter who you think that they are, just be careful about who you send money to, and don't send no big large amounts to these people who could be non-credible, have no credibility whatsoever. Just their word. Look for some credentials. Ask questions. Find stuff out. Don't just give people money. But yeah, this is. I hate to sit and talk about this sad stuff. It's really depressing. I've never lived through a flood like that, nor would I want to. And as much as I'm sitting here trying to get donations for myself, I wouldn't go through half of a flood like that to get $100,000. Okay, there's no way. I wouldn't risk my life for money. No way. Okay. I would not switch places with those people for nothing. Those people have probably lost everything they have. What clothes they have will probably rot in their poor old flooded homes. They don't have no food. Lucky if they got any money. So, yeah. Here's an article from conservativefighters.com. Trump and Melania traveling Texas flood help relief. President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump will travel to Texas Tuesday as parts of the state face historic flooding due to Hurricane Harvey. Quote, "We are coordinating logistics with state and local officials, and once details are finalized, we will let you know. We will continue to keep all of those affected in our thoughts and prayers," unquote. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said on Sunday. The president takes up a lot of resources when he travels. And Texas Governor Greg Abbott told CBS, quote, "The place he will be going will not be Houston, so he will not be getting into harm's way in the evacuations or emergency response in the Houston area. He most likely will be going closer to where the hurricane hit," land, end quote. Harvey hit the Gulf Coast of Texas on Friday with a Category 4 hurricane. The storm has caused at least 5 deaths and catastrophic flooding in Houston. More than 25 inches of rain have already fallen in parts of Houston, and now a tropical storm is expected to continue to drop rain on the city for the next few days. President Trump signed a disaster declaration on Friday as the hurricane was making landfall and has since held multiple meetings with cabinet officials about the storm response. It's been a long day, folks. I'm so sorry. I apologize for the yawning. But yeah, if you want to call the show tonight, call 276-524-0047. I will be taking your calls throughout the show tonight. This article is from the Wall Street Journal, written by Shane Harris. Special counsel examines probable role Flynn played in seeking Clinton emails from hackers. Mueller probe of potential link between Trump campaign and Russia follows trail of GOP operatives' correspondence. Washington. Special counsel Robert Mueller is examining what role, if any, former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn may have played in a private effort to obtain Hillary Clinton's emails from Russian hackers, according to people familiar with the matter. Blah, 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 blah. I don't got no subscription with the Wall Street Journal. I thought I had that full link. Let me see here if I do or not. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go about it through alternative means. The Wall Street Journal ain't the only people out there writing propaganda, folks. Nope, here's one from CNN. Bangor Daily News, CBS, CNN, Reuters, Reddit, AOL, we'll come back to it. This is an article, folks, that hits close to home, so I hope a lot of y'all out there listening takes heed to this, especially those who live around my area. White nationalists removing Lexington's Confederate statues is an act of genocide. Thomas Novelli, the Courier Journal, published August 16th. Indiana white nationalist Matt Heimbach said if Lexington's plan to remove its federal statue succeeds, there could be a demonstration in Kentucky similar to what took place over the weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia. Quote, I don't think it would be the exact same as Charlottesville, but it could be. End quote. Heimbach told the Courier Journal, quote, if the removal goes forward, well then of course we will accelerate our public rally, unquote. Heimbach, who was present at the violent, quote, Unite the Right, unquote, rally in Charlottesville last weekend, said no date has been set for the proposed Lexington rally, but said his group is looking at legal options to block the removal of the statues. He said the removal of the statues is an, quote, act of genocide, end quote, against whites. Following the violent rally in Virginia over the weekend that left 3 dead and 35 injured, Lexington Mayor Jim Gray said the city would work to remove its Confederate statue depicting John Hunt Morgan and John C. Breckinridge. The removal motion prompts 26-year-old back, the chairman of the Traditionalist Worker Party, a white nationalist hate group, to plan a demonstration forcing Lexington officials to prep the worst. The city police agency has asked Louisville Metro Police and state and federal agents for backup. Quote, we've been in conciliation with state police and Louisville Metro Police, and we're prepared. If they're coming here, that they have all agreed to give us resources and personnel here in Lexington, end quote. Police Chief Mark Bernard said in a public video on Facebook. Lexington Police spokeswoman Brianna Angel said they have not received a permit or intelligence tips from other agencies about the potential event. Angel said Chief Bernard reached out to LMPD, that's Louisville Metro Police Department, Chief Steve to provide additional gear and officers if the event occurs. Quote, we have assured Chief Bernard we are willing to assist if the needs arise, according to what resources we have available and which are deemed appropriate to commit, end quote, said John Bradley, LMPD Public Information Commander. In Charlottesville, Heimbach's group was present in part to protest the removal of a Robert E. Lee statue. Quote, that removed humanization process, end quote, Heimbach said. Quote, there is a genocide campaign not only against the southern people but against Europeans around the world, end quote. Heimbach is no stranger to rallies. Last year, he was accused of physically harassing a woman during a March 2016 rally in Louisville for presidential candidate Donald Trump. He screamed and yelled at Trump protester Kashika Nawamanga, blah blah blah, and pushed her repeatedly to make her leave the Kentucky International Convention Center where the rally was taking place. He was charged with harassment with physical contact and initiating entry a not guilty plea. Last month, however, he entered an all-for plea which allows the defendant to plead guilty while maintaining their innocence. What? How can you how, how, how can you say you're guilty and maintain your innocence? That don't make sense right there. That's stuck yeah. But uh, um, Heimbach ordered his followers to push down the metal police barricades that cut the Charlottesville Park into separate zones, reported the Indy Star. He had not cited any arrested during the violence, however, and said he isn't worried about getting into any violent trouble because of the armed veterans that surround him during rallies. Quote, there's always a chance with a 90-day sentence, end quote, Heimbach said. Quote, that's why the Traditionalist Workers' Party has security details. The likelihood of me being mixed up in those things isn't very high. Being the chairman, end quote. Lexington's City Council voted unanimously Tuesday evening to remove the two Confederate statues Tuesday. In a statement, Mayor Gray said he hopes an event like Charlottesville won't happen in his city. Quote, if they were to come to Lexington, we'd plan to have an overwhelming amount of law enforcement to greet them, end quote, Bernard said. Folks, I'll tell you what. Now, that is one thing that people like us can relate to these white nationalists on. They are destroying our history. They are, I don't know about a genocide or nothing like that, but they've got a problem with white people. Even white people don't like white people these days. That's totally unheard of, and racism or civil rights. This is something that spawned from the so-called liberals. Is all you can say. These white nationalist groups, they're nothing more than foot soldiers for the elite. They use people to go in, cause violence, and incite these riots. That way, when they take our rights away, people will say, well, I'll give my liberty up for safety any day, sir. Go right ahead. Take my freedom of speech. Take my Second Amendment. I don't need it. You can protect me. So, you can clearly see right here what's going on. And Jim Gray is the biggest Democrat that ever walked, okay? And him and his buddies sitting behind closed doors, drinking cognac or whatever, laughing at us poor people smoking big long Cuban cigars, saying, why don't we just have them take down the statue of Murray Breckinridge's dad and John Hunt Morgan, one of the people that helped found this place where I live, somebody that's probably one of my ancestors. I mean, I'm not for slavery. I'm not for violence. I'm not for anything like that. But I am for preserving our history, teaching our young people an accurate depiction of our history, because you don't want to repeat history. You don't want to make the same mistakes that other people have made throughout their lives. That is something that's totally avoidable. There's no excuse for it, really. None whatsoever. If I make a mistake and write it down in a book and it's published all over the country or all over the world, and people read that book all the time, they'd open it up and they say, well, Alex, he pissed in the wind and it blew back and hit him on the leg. I don't believe I'll do that right there, boys. I'll turn my back to it. You know what I'm saying? But these people don't care, folks. They got one agenda and one agenda only. They're like Pinky in the Brain. They want to take over the world. Okay, that's all you can say. They want to rule the world, and they want us to give up our liberties for our safety. That doesn't work, folks. Benjamin Franklin said, quote, "Those who give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety." And I'll tell you something else. There's also a war on our founding fathers. You know, whether you know it or not, there is. Calling them terrorists and everything else. No, Jim.
One of my listeners in Missouri, a patriotic firefighter, sent us this footage of a FEMA commando demonizing the founding fathers and Christians to a group of police and firefighters. What are Christians and patriots? The new Jews?
Damn right, because think about the Christians, okay? Do you accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? No. What did they do? They took your head off. They beheaded you if you Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. See, this is reality.
Fathers and Christians to a group of police and firefighters. What are Christians and patriots? The new Jews?
You're damn right, because think about the Christians, okay? Do you accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? No. What did they do? They took your head off. They beheaded you if you didn't accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. See, this is reality.
terrorists, but the bottom line is that they are not. Now, why is that important to understand? Because they are as committed to their cause and to their way of life as you are yours. And they see you as being wrong. That's very different. When people are passionate about what they believe in, they become a very difficult enemy to be. Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson? You mean George Washington? Paul Revere? These guys right here, let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people? They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials because they systematically had British officials assassinated. The guys who we call our founding fathers, George Washington, Mr. Honest, who cut down a cherry tree and admitted it, is the same guy who signed death orders, if you will, on members of the British government, the British Crown, who they wanted to eliminate because politically they had influence in certain pockets of the United States, at that time the 13 colonies, and Congress. They may get a and hey, I'm going to be honest with you. If they killed 10,000 civilians tomorrow, biological agent, that's too bad for them.
Yeah, they killed 10,000 civilians. Patriots are. They're always killing civilians. So what? We've just got to take care of ourselves. Talk about demonization. If anybody's going to kill 10,000 civilians, it's the feds. All the evidence shows is the feds killing people. Here's Bush signing the USA Patriot Act that literally eviscerated the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Section 213, these warrants. It means sneak in your house for any reason, take whatever they want, and never even tell you they were there. But you're like, okay, there's a sunset clause. Well, if you look at that subsection, on the key areas that violate your constitutional rights, there are no sunset provisions. Out of 1,016 sections, 802 has to be the most frightening. You see, the definition of domestic terrorism is anyone that is involved in acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state. Under their definition, jaywalking is now a terrorist action. This is an absolute outrage. The people that pass this legislation, in truth, are the real terrorists, the real criminals engaged against our constitutional republic. Congressman Ron Paul said that none of the Congress was allowed to even read the bill and threatened by the White House that they wouldn't be patriots if they didn't sign it. He said the founding fathers revolted over much lighter forms of tyranny.
Unfortunately, we may not always be able to tell you why that agent or agents are knocking on your door. Is there a chance that some of your civil liberties may slip while we guarantee the security of this country? Maybe.
Maybe. It could, you know. Who knows? Let's listen to this.
A developing
Hold on, it ain't loading very good. Just give me a second here.
controversy concerning the Department of Defense and a new training manual that compares modern-day extremists with some of America's founding fathers. The Boston Tea Party has already been deemed an act of terror in some U.S. school districts, and now it seems the Department of Defense, at least according to this training manual, thinks the men who signed the Declaration of Independence weren't much better. A portion of the new manual reads, quote, "In U.S. history, there are many examples of extremist ideologies and movements. The colonists who sought to free themselves from British rule, and the Confederate States who sought to secede from the northern states. Those are just two examples." Let's debate it. Sally Cohn is a Fox News contributor with SallyCohn.com. Brad Blakeman is former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Welcome. All right, I gotta read another part of this manual that's out there, and it says it is a training manual not to be used in nowadays. Instead of dressing in sheets or publicly espousing hate messages, many extremists will talk of individual liberties, states' rights, and how to make the world a better place. Sally, come on.
All right, so let's step back for a second and realize what this is about. This is about making sure that our military, which we all rely on to keep us all safe, that the people who serve in our military, those troops, answer to our commander-in-chief and their commanders and not some extremist ideology. And to be fair, there are other portions you're not reading, including portions that single out black separatists, something I think they call eco-warriors, so groups that would traditionally be associated with the left, also as examples of extremists. You know, the reality is if someone shows up trying to sign up for our military thinking they're the second coming of George Washington, in this day and age, none of us, that's not good for any of us. That makes us all less safe.
Yeah, and you're right. There are a number of different groups that they single out saying that these are examples of extremist ideology. But also, when you say things like states' rights and how to make the world a better place, that's a lot of people out there. And Brad, a lot of people feel like that's the same kind of language we heard with the IRS singling out the Tea Party.
Absolutely. Isn't that what the military does? Don't they fight for the very principles they now are cautioning people about? Don't they lay their lives on the line for fairness and equality and American values, the same values that our founding fathers put their life on the line for? And let's not forget, in times of change, it's what you define a radical to be. Was Washington a radical? I bet you the King of England thought he was. Was Martin Luther King a radical? Some people believed he was. But they fought for principle. And the principles that the Army or the military is now singling out as something that is un-American or something that the military should not follow is quite the opposite. They have it totally skewed as to what the principles that these so-called radicals were fighting for. We're fighting for them today. And when you single out the Tea Party, they're fighting for fairness, equality. They're fighting for responsibility in our debt and taxes. These aren't foreign subjects. These are very principles that our nation was founded on.
All right, I want to let folks know before we continue that, by the way, Todd Starnes, our reporter on this, referencing these documents that were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act by Judicial Watch. He said he repeatedly called the Pentagon. They did not return telephone calls seeking comment on these materials. Sally, do you think it would be helpful if they did clarify?
Well, sure, and I think it would be certainly helpful if we knew that this was the first time, when do these date back to? And some of them date back to, when Gates was Secretary of Defense, which, as we know, he was Secretary of Defense.
This, by the way, is a January,
well.
just so we know, it's January 2013 Defense Equal Opportunity Management Institute student guide.
Right, but parts of what you're quoting are from 2011. But here's the larger thing. I agree with Brad entirely. We want all of our troops to fight for American values. And I don't even know how to respond. This is such a mountain out of a molehill. You're cherry picking parts out of a report that if you look at the entirety, simply say that our Department of Defense, our armed forces, should use their guidance to make sure that no extremists on either side of the ideological fence. It's very clear.
But it's artfully
co-opt our armed forces.
Brad, I want to insert here because this is put together and it references the Southern Poverty Law Center, and the document itself says it relies and it cites heavily to the Southern Poverty Law Center, which, remember, has labeled the Family Research Council. The man who went in there with the gun and said his plan was to kill as many people as possible said it was because he found that group listed on the Southern Poverty Law Center's website, and yet they have input into this document.
They don't have input into it if they're cited.
Look, the document in its totality is factually incorrect. It's wrong. It's the wrong tack that our military should be taking. And our military has better things to do than to slam our founding fathers and try and equate what they did for America. The fact is, in less than 300 years, we're the most powerful nation. That as the hope for the world. Is that such a bad thing? I don't think you should be arguing with success and trying to equate what our country was founded on with where we are today as far as pitting people as being radicals when they're far from it. And if they are radicals, they're radicals in the sense of what our founding fathers believed.
I don't think we'd want that man who went into the Family Research Council with a gun to join the armed forces either. And that's what this is about, preventing extremists on both sides. It's a very fair report, and we're making out of a molehill here, and we should be focused on keeping our country safe.
All right, I want you two to promise not to try to talk too much about how to make the world a better place. I want you to stay out of trouble. Sally and Brad, good to see you both.
Nice to see you.
All right.
So, you say right there, I'm a terrorist. You say I'm a radical. Yeah. So, whatever.
helping to fry.
I'm not watching Glenn Beck. I would not watch Glenn Beck if my life depended on it. No, thank you. But let's get back to this other article here. Folks, if y'all want to join tonight's broadcast, you can. The number to call, 276-524-0047. I am here and awaiting to take your calls. Report Flynn examining role Mueller examining role Flynn played in attempt to gain hacked Clinton emails. As special counsel, Robert Mueller's investigation into Trump's campaign's possible ties to the Russian government intensifies. Investigators are now looking into whether former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn played a role in the attempts to obtain Hillary Clinton's emails from Russian hackers, according to the Wall Street Journal. The journal previously reported that Republican operative and businessman Peter W. Smith attempted to recover deleted emails from Clinton's email server, which included contacts with what he believed were Russian hackers. Smith was found dead on May the 14th, just 10 days after he spoke with a journal reporter. Smith died in a Minnesota hotel room after an apparent suicide. Yeah. He had detailed in correspondence and conversations with colleagues that Flynn was an ally in the efforts to seek out the hackers, and implied other members of the Trump campaign were coordinating with him. Smith also said he was working with Flynn's son. The journal now reports that Mueller and his team have been conducting interviews and seeking information that would reveal if Flynn was in fact involved in Smith's efforts, along with Flynn's son, Michael G. Flynn, and consulting firm Flynn Intel Group. The investors are also reportedly inquiring about the substance of the relationship between Smith and several Trump campaign advisors and aides to the president. The special counsel's aide office did not immediately respond to CBS News requests for comment. The new probes add to growing list of inquiries and interviews Mueller's team are conducting as they look into as possible connection between the campaign and Moscow, as well as any efforts to interfere in the 2016 election. The investigation includes Russian interference in the election, Russian hacking, Russian influence, and possible financial wrongdoing, according to individuals familiar with the matter. Folks, why aren't they looking into all these supposed suicides? All these people that were trying to do the public a service and put that witch behind bars where she needs to be. Instead, these people that speaks out against her commit suicide, or arkancide as it used to be considered. You got to look up Look up the Clinton the Clinton death count. I guess you could look up Arkansas. That's a just look up Arkansas if you don't believe me. They would have their brains blowed out and their arms chopped off, and the coroner would say they committed suicide, or something stupid like that, which he was in the pockets of the Clintons during Bill Clinton's governorship in Arkansas. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Here's something you want on the local news or the national news, either one. The world's biggest central bankers in the world meet in Wyoming. I'll get to that article in a minute. Y'all want to call this show? It's 276-524-0047. Again, that number 276-524-0047.
We've been kind of debating at length with a number of guests about the role of automation, these sort of structural changes.
Give it just a minute here and let it load just a little bit more. It's loaded about 18 seconds. We'll try.
We've been kind of debating at length with a number of guests about the role of automation, sort of structural changes that might be weighing on inflation. Central banks should change their mandates or change their look at inflation, right? Where does Asia sit on this whole debate?
Yeah, good morning, Heidi. It's like you say, we're having the best performance of the world economy since 2011, yet we don't have any inflation at all, certainly not in the developed markets. So there is this kind of debate going on, why are central banks focusing so much on inflation? But in Asia, actually, the mandates or the policy priorities set out for the central banks by the governing authorities is actually much broader than price stability. In many cases, they have multiple objectives, and it speaks to the idea that perhaps central banks in Asia are leading the debate on where monetary authorities should go in terms of steering their economies. They look at areas like financial stability, currency stability, financial system stability, and the likes. So there's a good morning, Heidi. It's like you say, we're having the best performance of the world economy since 2011, yet we don't have any inflation at all, certainly not in the developed markets. So there is this kind of debate going on, why aren't central banks focusing so much on inflation? But in Asia, actually, the mandates or the policy priorities set for the central banks by the governing authorities is actually much broader than price stability. In many cases, they have multiple objectives, and it speaks to the idea that perhaps central banks in Asia are leading the debate on where monetary authorities should go in terms of steering their economies. They look at areas like financial stability, currency stability, financial system stability, and the likes. So there's a feeling that even if some parts of the world are what Mervyn King might once described as being inflation nutters, it's not necessarily true.
I mean, what are just some of the examples of the diversity, I guess, that you see between different mandates that central banks here in Asia have?
Quite diverse, I would say. Look at Japan. Obviously, the headlines are always around a 2% inflation target. That's fine. But Japan's central bank has also been tasked with stability of the banking system. And that's something which is quite historical resonance given the economic collapse that country had back in the early 1990s. And so far, I think you could say the Bank of Japan has done a pretty good job. Yeah, good morning, Heidi. It's like you say, we're having the best performance of the world banking system. And that's something which is quite historical resonance given the economic collapse that country had back in the early 1990s. And so far, I think you could say the Bank of Japan has done a pretty good job.
Let me pause that for just a second. When I use that Blog Talk Radio, it slows my computer way down. I know my computer isn't ideal for this, but it's all I've got right now. Again, if y'all want to help me get better,
on keeping their banking system.
If y'all want to help me get better and help me succeed, taking down these globalists.
I'm on track. In your
GoFundMe.com/Alex Morgan Show, or go to PayPal.me/A-More3, I think it is. Probably won't do me much good to tell you, but I'll tell you anyway.
In Australia, obviously they're mandated to look after employment and growth, but the central bank also has a third little-known tenet, which is to look after the welfare of their citizens. And China, of course, has multi-objectives. The central bank doesn't just boost in employment and growth and look after inflation. It also has a role in liberalising the financial markets and a much broader role in liberalising and opening up the economy too. So these big central banks in Asia many of them don't just have a strict purview to look at price stability. They have a broad array. Bank also has a third little-known tenet, which is to look after the welfare of their citizens. And China, of course, has multi-objectives. The central bank doesn't just boost in employment and growth and look after inflation. It also has a role in liberalising the financial markets and a much broader role in liberalising and opening up the economy too. So these big central banks in Asia, many of them don't just have a strict purview to look at price stability. They have a broad array of mandate. They have a broad mandate to look at the economy in a much wider lens.
Well, I'll tell you about that.
You know, we've been kind of debating at length with a number of guests about the role of automation.
As the world's top central bankers gather in Wyoming this week, their relief about a stronger global economy will be tempered by a growing unease that inflation remains inexplicably low. Federal Reserve Chairman Janet Yellen and European Central Bank President Mario Draghi will be among the officials addressing this year's installment of the annual conference hosted by the Kansas City Federation. The summit, held at a Jackson Hole mountain retreat, comes as central bankers in advanced economies creep toward the policy after the years of unprecedented easing, even with outlooks are cloudy by stubbornly timid inflation. Prices have been slow to pick up despite solid growth and falling unemployment, suggesting that the long observed relationship between inflation and labor market slack might have frayed. That puzzle will likely surface as the conference debates this year's theme of, quote, frosting a dynamic global economy, end quote, against the backdrop of the Grand Teton Mountains. Quote, inflation has been the big question mark both here and abroad, end quote, said Michelle Meyer, head of U.S. economics at Bank of America Corp in New York. Yellen will speak about financial stability at 8 p.m. local time, and on August 25th, Draghi will be at 1 p.m. His remarks will focus on the theme of the conference and ECB spoke, responding to speculation over whether the Italian might choose to send a policy signal to the central bank's bond buying program. Advanced economies face common challenges that range from rising asset valuations to the uneven effects of globalization, galvanized the populism behind Brexit and the election of Donald Trump. It's a lot easier to solve these problems with faster growth. Quick takes make sense of world shaking. Never mind, that's another link. I'm sorry. Quote, what we're trying to analyze is how do we improve growth? Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan told reporters in Lubbock, Texas on Thursday when asked about Jackson Hole. Still, inflation may be the most pressing issue facing central banks, which are failing to meet their price mandates. U.S. inflation fell to 1.4% in June based on the Fed's preferred gauge and consumer prices in the euro area. Currently at 1.3%, have wavered since the start of the year. Central banks shoot the 2% inflation, although the EBC formally aims below, but close to that level. Those glacial price gains come even as unemployment has dropped steadily, more than halving in the U.S. to 4% since its post-recession peak, and declining to 9.1% from a high of 12.1% in the euro area. Inflation is also low in Japan, though subpar prices gains have been longer-lived issue there. While the Bank of Japan hasn't confirmed Governor Haruko Kuroda's schedule, he's attended Jackson Hole every year since becoming chief in 2013. Bank of England Governor Mark Carney plans to skip the event. The Fed has already signaled that it will probably get moving on unwinding its $4.5 trillion balance sheet in September, and Yellen could solidify that view. Still, if the Fed chair signals any uncertainty over the inflation outlook, it could cast doubt on the Fed's projection for one more interest rate increase this year. Draghi, who will have spoken in Lindau, Germany on Wednesday before traveling to Wyoming, will keep a key focus on policy watchers' attention. The EBC is entering a crucial phase of its battle to restore euro price stability. It was in Jackson Hole 3 years ago that Draghi laid the groundwork for its €2.3 trillion bond buying program. The region's recovery has gathered pace since the start of the year, allowing officials to pledge to start talks this fall about a strategy for 2018 that could include gradually reducing prices to zero. Yet, policymakers also appear uncertain about how fast to proceed. That became more evident since Draghi's speech in late June, in which he refers to reflationary forces sent at the ECB's governing council meeting on July 20th. Officials expressed concern over the potential of an exchange rate overshot that undermines the economic revival. The single currency has risen more than 5% on a trade basis this year and has gained 12% against the dollar. It was at 1.1736 at 8:32 a.m. Frankfurt. That's Frankfurt, Germany. Quote, as the ECB signals that it is gradually approaching the exit, euro appreciation could be provoked, which will flatten the expected recovery in inflation and thereby reduce the probability of exit, end quote. London-based Dutch bank economist Mark Wall. Draghi may therefore choose to strike a cautious tone, signaling his thoughts on tapering until September the 7th, when the governing council meets and he holds a press conference. Yellen's action as the Fed leads the way in unwinding emergency error policies may also be a key determinant for the ECB as it crafts the timeline for its own removal of stimulus, said Claude Bessemsine, an economist at Pantheon Macroeconomics in Newcastle, UK. As the Fed starts to move, quote, it gives the ECB room with a lag to move as well, unquote, Witson said. Here's an article from Bloomberg Politics. Says, just let the world know his NAFTA tactic could be a bluff. I'll see if this video will play. If it won't, I'm moving on. I've got a lot to cover and a short time to do it yet. And I am getting awfully tired. I've got about an hour and a half to go, but I don't know if I'll last that long or not, folks. I'll just tell you. Trump pardons ex-Arizona Sheriff Joe. This comes from news.trust.org. Thomson Reuters Foundation News, written by, just says by Reuters. August 25th, U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday granted a pardon to former and political ally Joe Arpaio, the self-proclaimed, quote, toughest sheriff in America, end quote, less than a month after he was convicted of criminal contempt in a case involving his department's racial profiling policy. Trump had signaled this week that the first presidential pardon of his administration would go to Arpaio, 85, whom he has frequently praised for his hardline immigration stance. Reporting by Julia Hart, editing by Sandra Maller. And I don't know, 2 or 3 days after, here is the results of that. Trump had perfect answer for Chelsea Clinton's claim. ConservativeFighters.com. Bill and Hillary's, well, Jay Hubble, what's his name, and Hillary's daughter, she don't belong to Bill. Chelsea recently attacked President Trump and Sheriff Joe Arpaio on Twitter, but she quickly got feedback she didn't expect. President Trump and the American patriots had the perfect answer for her, as like most of the Americans believe that the Clintons should be in prison. Chelsea Clinton posted a tweet saying, quote, the year I spent in Joe Arpaio's tent jail was hell. He should never walk free, end quote, with a Washington Post article. Although the thought of Clinton's in jail is welcoming for many Americans, she only made a mess by posting this tweet. Quote, she was doing research for her mother on available accounts, end quote, tweeted one user. quote, aiding and abetting a criminal and a sexual predator at Chelsea Clinton, end quote, tweeted another who replied to the question, quote, what were you, Chelsea, in for, end quote. Chelsea discovered how many Americans wants her parents in jail, but she continued her attacks on
Talk to yourself
President
positively
Trump and
all the time.
Sheriff Joe.
Keep repeating, I can do it, I can do it, until your fears disappear. Shape your life in amazing ways. Your ability to stay positive and maintain positive thoughts determines the tone of your emotional life. The words you use to describe what is happening to you and to how you feel about external events triggers the emotions of happiness or unhappiness that you experience. When you see things positively and constructively and look for the good in each situation and each person, you have a tendency to remain naturally cheerful and optimistic. Since the quality of your overall...
I'm sorry I even pushed play on that. I thought it was pertaining to this article, or I would have not. The Washington Post article she quoted was written by a liberal who was arrested for drunk driving. In his article, he was complaining about the conditions in Arpaio's tent jails. Generally, that the food wasn't good, that was cold in winter and hot in summer, but what did he expect? Chelsea Clinton thought that the article proves that Sheriff Joe is a racist and immediately connected him with President Trump, who according to her loves racist, and that's the reason he gave Sheriff Joe a pardon. Quote, during the sweltering summer, the temperature could reach 115 to 120 degrees. I was in the tents when we hit 120. It was impossible to stay cool in the oppressive heat. Everyone would strip down to their underwear, end quote, wrote Francisco Chares, trying to present it like a Nazi concentration camp. Arpaio saved worse abuse for others. Those who were in full detention had to wear pink socks, underwear, and flip-flops. They ate peanut butter and bread, and the only other meal they received was bologna and bread, end quote, complains Chares. If wearing pink socks and eating peanut butter sandwiches are, quote, harsh, unquote, conditions, then the President, Donald Trump, had a perfect answer for Chelsea Clinton that he posted on Twitter and shamed her for posting this ridiculous article. Quote, I am pleased to inform you that I have just granted a full pardon to 85-year-old American patriot Joe Arpaio. He kept Arizona safe, end quote. Sheriff Joe was enforcing the law under the Obama administration when the former Attorney General Eric Holder accused him of all immigration crimes. Arpaio wasn't doing anything else but making America safe. Trump posted on Twitter, quote, Crooked Hillary destroyed phones with hammer, bleached emails, and had husband meet with AG, that's Attorney General, days before she was cleared. And they talk about obstruction, end quote. Chelsea should never put herself in this situation, posting such a ridiculous tweet for Arpaio when her parents are criminals, and she is aware of that. Please share this post on Facebook if you think the Clintons should go to jail. What do you think about this? Scroll down to comment below. There's just been 2 comments so far. Billy Miller says, Chelsea Clinton looks like Mickey Mouse. What does that ugly little bitch know about anything? Norma Taylor wrote, I'd be ashamed to see worse. If I were Chelsea Clinton, the name would be enough. Chelsea, don't you know when to shut her horse face up? She is not ours, but then having the criminal background her parents have is enough to drive a nitwit crazy. And she does got a horse face, you have to admit. She looks just like her daddy. Hold on, I'll show him to you. Don't that look just like her? See that big face right there? Hold on, that. Now, hold on. Here's her. And here's him. Again, one more time. Here's her daddy. And here's her. Can you see the family resemblance? No DNA needed. Case closed. As for Danny Williams, folks, I've got about 12 minutes left on Blog Talk Radio. I'm going to go ahead and keep aiming for the fences. Okay, right here's Danny Williams. And here's a picture of our former president, Bill Clinton. Can y'all see that resemblance? Look at those teeth. Look at the shape of his eyes even. Look at his ears. Look at his forehead. Folks, that is Clinton's son. I don't care if he's purple. He is Bill Clinton's son. You can see it. ACLU down in face of Twitter's wrath for pic white baby holding U.S. flag. The ACLU got a big lesson in political correctness after posting to its Twitter page and has backed off after social media trolls accused the free speech group of promoting Nazis. Quote, this is the future that ACLU members want, end quote. The ACLU captioned a photo of a blonde baby wearing an ACLU, quote, free speech, end quote, onesie and holding a small American flag. That's all it took, a flurry of tweets for ACLU followers slammed the group, suggesting it was being racially and even likening the post to pro-Nazi commentary. When your Twitter followers keep you in check and remind you that white supremacy is everywhere, end quote, the National ACLU account posted, adding a gif of Kermit the Frog over the text, quote, that's a very good point, end quote. The group followed up with another tweet to clarify what it wants to promote is babies in ACLU onesies. Quote, PSA, the future we want is babies in ACLU onesies. More cute ACLU babies, follow us on Instagram, end quote, the tweet said, linking to its official Instagram page. If I had a baby, it would wear anything but an ACLU onesie, okay? These are the very people that are tearing our country apart from its core, okay? These are the people that claim to be for free speech, which they are not, folks. They are anti-free speech. See, this is what these damn liberals are doing these days. They say they're one thing. They're really mirroring what they really are. Like you take Antifa, for instance. They say they're anti-fascist. They're fascist as fuck, okay? Somebody like Obama says he's not a racist. He's racist as fuck, okay? Then you take... I quit right there. I just want to move it on along because I'm just going to sit here and get mad and upset. And I know there's no use in it, folks. This is not the way that you fight these people. The way you fight these people is you become active. You become alert. You become the opposite of these people. That's the only way that you can fight these people. You don't do it violently. You don't do it vocally, but not to where you upset, cause a riot or incite violence or anything like that. Amazon to cut whole food prices, escalating grocery turf war. This article's from Reuters.com, written by David Shepperson and Lisa Bayerling. Reuters. Amazon.com Inc. said it will cut prices on a range of popular goods as it completes its acquisition of Whole Foods Market, Inc., sending shares of rival grocers tumbling on fears that brutal market share battles will intensify. Amazon's $13.7 billion purchase of Whole Foods, which will be completed on Monday, has been hanging over a brick and mortar retail sector unsure of how to respond to the world's biggest online retailer. Shares of Kroger, the biggest U.S. supermarket operator, closed down 8%, while Walmart Stores Inc., the biggest U.S. food seller, closed down 2%. Amazon also said it will start selling Whole Foods brand products on its website, a move that sent down shares of packaged food sellers, including Kellogg Company. The S&P 500 Food Retail Index closed down almost 5% as more than $10 billion was wiped off the market value of big food sellers. Amazon said members of its $99 a year Prime Shopping Club would eventually be rolled into Whole Foods Customer Rewards Program and be eligible for special offers and discounts. Quote, there was never any doubt that Amazon would lower prices and even offer further discounts in store to Prime members, unquote, said Briard Equity Research Analysis Colin Sebastian. Land grab. Amazon said that starting on Monday it will cut prices on organic grocery staples such as bananas, avocados, brown eggs, farm salmon, and tilapia, baby kale and lettuce, some apples, butter, and other products. It does not, quote, it does not look like they will go kamikaze on pricing, end quote, said Roger Davison, president of consulting firm Oakton Advisory Group and a former retail executive. Quote, they will lower prices on consequential items to drive traffic and sales, but not do a whole food price reduction, which could really damage gross margin and potentially wipe out operating margin, end quote. Lowering prices could stem defections by price-sensitive whole food shoppers and help the grocer sled into, quote, whole paycheck, end quote, repetition for high prices that are generally 15 to 25% above rivals. It could also bring in new consumers who can then be urged to shop for food and other products online. Quote, it's ultimately a nice land grab, end quote, said Bill Bishop of retail consult Brick Meets Click, and a way to get consumers, quote, thinking about buying healthy food from Amazon, end quote. Food profits. The planned price cuts would have been a tough sell to Whole Foods investors who had grown used to fat profits from scale chain, but more in line with Amazon's broader strategy of sacrificing short-term profit for long-term market dominance. Quote, Amazon is more focused on driving the volume and improving service at the expense of profit
90
margins.
seconds.
Long term, this strategy works because the absolute profit dollars will be significant. Amazon's willingness to take lower profit margins ups to the ante in the increasingly costly grocery price war. Folks, you want to check that article out, you can go to Reuters.com.
60 seconds.
As you can tell, I've got 1 minute to go. I've got a sale going on at AlexMorganShow.com. Got the white t-shirts on sale. I don't know, they're about 15% off or something. I've got them marked down $5 or so. I need to sell them. I need funding in the worst way. Go over to the site, watch the live feed, check out the online store, leave us $1 in the donation link, or buy yourself a t-shirt. This is Alex Morgan signing off for the Alex Morgan Show.
10 seconds.
Prayers for Texans. Prayers for families everywhere. Peace. I love you. God bless. I'll see you next time. And folks, that'll be it for tonight, I
Thank
guess.
you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
If anybody's got any comments, any information that they want to pass along, you can send it to Alex at AlexMorganShow.com. Send it to contact at AlexMorganShow.com. Any personal matters, send it directly to me at AlexMorgan9183 at gmail.com. You can reach me there anytime, or the Alex Morgan Show at gmail.com. Again, I launched a new site earlier, Freedom Internet Radio Media.simplesite.com. You can go there and check out some of the links that I've been going over tonight. I don't know if there's any additional articles up there or not. I forget actually. But yeah, just check out AlexMorganShow.com. I guess that'll be it for tonight. I'll see y'all later. Thanks for tuning into the broadcast. I love y'all. See y'all soon. Prayers for you. Prayers for me, please. God bless you all. Thank you very much.